Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. I'm Way-T Lightheart from the Prosperity and Health Alliance, and we're here at another wonderful week to join you, our friends from around the world, to share with you the 3 steps to finding your dream lifestyle's magic number. And I'm going to get into what that is. But first and foremost, here it is. We're cruising into the, almost third week of the month, new year. Everything's rocking and rolling. And I really wanted to bring this up. It's a little bit different than we're doing in a normal week, but I like to mix up for different reasons. And this is a really critical process that I'm going to share with you. First off, some of you might be wondering, if you got the email, what's my magic number? And the magic number is the number essentially it takes to get your dream lifestyle, and then how you convert that number into what you're doing here with Enagic in your business, and how you can grow that in a way that is realistic. We're going to break all that stuff down to you, and more importantly, we're going to share with you a little formula that I did years ago that allowed me to find my magic number. That was really, really critical. So what I want to share with you tonight is something that's really important, because what you focus on, you tend to get more of, and what you don't focus on, you tend to get less of. And a lot of times people get lost and they forget why they're doing this. So let's get into this. 3 steps to finding your dream lifestyle's magic number. I'm Way-T Lightheart. So how do you... let's get right down to brass tacks. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about your lifestyle. Let's talk about where you want to go in your journey. And get out a pen and paper and start writing this stuff down, because this is when it gets real. And I do believe that writing it down as opposed to typing it down is better. And there's a lot of physiological reasons why that is, and write them over and over and over again. But basically, it goes down to this. How much do you realistically need to make per month? What's the number that comes to head? 3,000, 5,000, 8,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20. What is the number that you realistically need to make? And that is whether it's to get rid of your job, whether it's to retire your spouse, whether it is to retire, what is it to move from a part-time business to a full-time? What is the number that you need to do that? Write that number down right now. And I'm going to take you through the exercise in a little bit, but start jotting these down now. And then as we get further into the exercise, we're going to get a little deeper. And then you're going to see when we get to the end why that's so important. Okay, next. How many sales is that at your current level? So let's say you're a 2A. Okay, let's say you're a 2A. And your average sale is going to come in at $540, or between 540 and $650, depending on what unit you're selling. But let's say, for all intensive purposes, tax out of the way, let's just say it's $500, and you need $3,000 a month. So you need 6 sales a month on average to make that number. Now, do you have to make all those sales? Well, at 2A, yeah, pretty much. But when you get to 4A, when you get to 3A, maybe not all of them, when you get to 4A, when you get to 5A, it gets easier as you go along, and you get bigger amounts of that. Now, if you're a 4A, how many sales would you need to make that 3K? Well, you only need, at 4K, you're rocking over 1,000 sales. You probably only need 3 sales a month. Hey, that's not even 1 a week at 4A. So at first, you might not be able to hit that number. You say, hey, you know what? If I can get to 4A, I know I'll make this much a sale. And if I develop the habits of turning that over and getting to 4A, guess what? I know I'll be able to do that. And so oftentimes we think too far ahead, and we don't break these things down. And we want to break this down from the big goal down to the little goal, down to chunking it down until we get down to a daily action. And this is something I did even before Enagic. Years ago, when I wanted to go to the Mr. Universe contest, I was a 135-pound kid with no gym. And I worked backwards from, if I wanted to be at the Mr. Universe, I'd have to win the national championship. I'd have to win a provincial championship. I'd have to win my local championship. Well, then I'd have to build some muscles and I have to work out. And, the local guys were, weighing at a certain amount at my height, and I needed to do it. And I figured it all out. And it took me a long time, but I did it. And so you can do the same thing here. So how many sales at your current level to get that goal. And remember, this is the hardest it's ever going to be. Right now is the hardest it's ever going to be. If you continue to do these things, it will get easier and easier. And then finally, if you're looking at the long-term point, what's the residual income or rank bonus that you need from 6A23 onwards? So for example, the rank bonus, and I'm going to share with you some numbers tonight so you get an idea what that actually looks like for real, without any, I always believe in talking real. I believe in giving it straight up. And helping you, because when you really get and understand this business, it's the easiest business I know to make 6 figures a year. And I've got multiple businesses. There's really nothing any easier. And believe me, it's a lot harder to do it in other companies. All right. So what's your current lifestyle cost? Let's figure this out right now. What's your rent or your mortgage? Write that number down right now. What's your transportation cost? Whether you're taking a bus, you got 2 cars, what does that cost? What is your food and your utilities, your basic essentials? All of these are what I call your basic essentials, things that you require every day. Then there's other expenses, which are bills, loans, investments, insurance, memberships, all kinds of miscellaneous stuff like that. You probably have a general ballpark idea what that is. So write down your monthly number. I'm going to take you through an experience, what I did years ago, and I'll show you how I was able to do this and how you can too. Okay. Now there's another one, because this stuff is not so exciting. Oftentimes, the thing is here's the interesting part. Most of us know exactly how much a rent payment or a mortgage payment is, or how much our car payments are, really close spend, and we can probably ballpark it right away. Now, here's the interesting thing. Most people make their rent, most people make their mortgage, most people rate their car payments, buy their food. They might have a little bit more food they might have a little bit more entertainment, but they both stay in that range every month. Why is that? Because they focus on it. They focus on making sure they have that amount of money. But if they focused on having a bigger amount of money, we're taught to do that. We're not taught to think in terms of what we can do. So you got to go back to your dreams list. What are the vacations that you want to take? How much would it cost to actually go on that travel expense? So I just did a little event here with my lovely lady, and we were talking about we want to go on a trip. So we said, okay, well, this trip is at this time, and it's going to cost us, about $4,500 to go on that trip, right? So what is that? Well, that's a couple of machines. My rank, that's a couple of machines. Okay, we make 2 extra machine sales, and guess what? We get to go on that trip. So now it's not just about selling a machine, it's about getting to that trip. Maybe you have a dream home. Maybe you're not living in the place that you want to live. Maybe you have a better idea of what that is. So how much does that house cost? What's the mortgage payment in that house? What would it take to get there? So start asking what would it take to make that happen, as opposed to we cannot, saying, how can we afford it? How you frame questions in your mind is very important if you're moving to your dreams. And keep in mind, we were not taught this in school. We were not taught this in our workplaces. We were not taught this in a lot of trainings. And so the biggest thing is you've got to focus on what you want and how you're going to get there. Your brain will figure out the how. Focus on what you want. What's the cost? What's the price? And let's go there, because it's just like your rent. It's just like your mortgage. At one time, that was probably a lot of money to you. At one time, whatever your lifestyle you're living in, you probably didn't have that. So that means you have had a capacity to do this, and it's no different here. And then there's the fun stuff. What kind of dream toys do you want? Is it cars? Is it boats? Is it planes? Is it clothes? Is it vacation? What is it? What is the dream lifestyle? And then finally, what's your dream contributions? Whether you want to put your kids through school, set them up with, different funds or whatever that happens to be, maybe help them in their own businesses, whatever, get started, family, stuff like that. Maybe there's some education dreams that you might have. Maybe there's some charity or some kind of contribution. You see, this dreams list needs to be connected to your why. your reason to do the business. So some people, cars, boats, and planes are really exciting for them. Those don't really turn me on. I don't get that excited about that. Do I like traveling? Yeah, I like traveling. I like going places, seeing things, and experiencing things. So for me, travel is more important. For other people, it's things. Other people, it's about contribution, how much they can give to their community, give to their kids, give to education. So tie your dreams you would really love to in the ultimate situation. Put that number down, or put down what it is that you want to do, and let's put a number to it, and let's figure out how we can get there. Okay. You can do it in this business. You can have all your dreams come true in this business. You really can. I've seen it. I've experienced it. And the people who actually take the time to do this get it. And you can too. So the question comes up is, what life do you really, really, really want to live? So for example, there's some people that are getting into this business that their life is crazy. They're working too hard. They're working too long. They make a lot of money, but they just don't have any time. They've got, 2 cars and 3 kids, and they're going to this meeting and that meeting. They're dropping the kids off here, and they got to get to this place, and they're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. Both things. They're not seeing their loved ones the way they want. They're not seeing their family, not going on the vacations, not doing it. So some people want to scale down in their life. They want to work less. They want to take more time with their family. What is it? Other people want to scale it up. Other people say, you know what? I want to live in that nicer house. I want to go on that trip. I want to contribute more to my community. I want to give better presents at Christmas time. Whatever it is. There's no right or wrong here. It's just got to be related to you. So ask yourself that question. What do you want to say? And write these things down. Please do this. This is an exercise. This is a participation component. We can have questions after. So next thing, where do you want to live? Do you want to live rurally? Do you want to live in a city? Do you want to live internationally? And what's the cost? What's the cost of living where you want to live? I mean, because eventually, don't you want to live where you want to live? I do. I mean, that's where I want to live. So next thing, sorry, I put that on a full screen. That might be a little better. Maybe do you or your spouse want to quit your job? A lot of people get started in this business and they want to get their spouse so that they don't have to work anymore. Maybe they can stay home with the kids. Maybe they can take up other pursuits. So oftentimes there'll be a motivation to get one of the couple retired. And if you're single, you just maybe want to quit your job. Maybe you don't want to go to your job anymore. I get it. What would that take? What would it take to you to quit your job? You can do it in this business. This is a global business, by the way. You can take this anywhere. How much money do you need to live in other countries? Not that much, right? What do you really want to do? And how much would it take on a monthly or yearly basis to make that happen? What do you really want to do? What do you really want to do? I'm saying that honestly, because most people don't actually admit what they really want to do. Right? This is deep work. I'm asking you these questions. Next, how much would it take on a monthly, yearly basis to make that happen? So while you're thinking about that, I'm going to take you through a little exercise that how you break it down. So for example, I'm going to share with you literally, this is where I was when I got started in the business. Now keep in mind, I got introduced to this business just over 10 years ago. I had gone through a major meltdown in my life. The business I was working in had just fallen apart. There was a challenge with me and my business partner at the time. Things went right. I went from a 5-figure income a month to 0. And that had gone over a period of time. And this came into my life. That didn't happen immediately. It dwindled down over, and it was a, I thought that businesses always went up, but that wasn't the case anyways. And so I wasn't prepared for that. At the same time, the relationship I was in broke up. So at the time I had no money, I had no car, had no vehicle, and I didn't even have a place to live. That's when I got started. So wherever you are out there today, it's okay. I know some people get involved with this. There's pain in your life, Pain can be a great thing. Pain can be a great motivator. In fact, it motivates people more. So leverage it if you're feeling a little pain. It's okay. I hear you. I feel you. And I'm not saying that dispassionately, but what I can say, if you're willing to work, if you're willing to learn, you can make your dreams happen. You can make this happen. So at the time though, my housing was about $3,000 a month with all utilities, insurance, all that sort of stuff, about $3,000 a month. Food was about $1,500 a month. I eat really high quality food. That's one thing I don't compromise on. There's, some people that won't need that much. My entertainment was about $1,000 a month. Transportation was about $500 a month, and that's getting around, and that includes whether it was flights or buses or whatever I was taking at the time. I lived in a city that didn't really need a car, so investments, about $1,000 a month, and then there was taxes and others. So it all worked out to about $8,500 a month. That's not so. What I determined that I needed $102,000 per year to sustain the life I was used to. Bare minimum. That's what I needed, right? So you can do the same thing. This is just a ballpark thing. You can dive a little deeper, but write these things down. What's your housing? What's your food? What's your entertainment? What's your transportation? What's your investments? That sort of stuff, taxes, all that stuff, roughly. You can probably calculate this in like 5 minutes. Okay. You don't have to be ultra level precise here. We're trying to get ballpark figures, and then we're going to work from those and get your brain activated in a way that allows you to get them. So now let's make these numbers real. Let's make the magic number real, your magic number. Now keep in mind, get this, 6A23 bonus is guaranteed $5,000 per month. Plus there's a quarterly bonus. I think the minimum is $90,000 per year. I'm not sure on that, but based on everything I've seen, that's the absolute minimum do nothing number at 6A23. Right now, we didn't even know about 6A23 and all that stuff when I got started, so that we didn't understand that. But the bottom line is, they told me that if I got to a certain level, it was going to work out to around $116,000 a year was the program that I saw in the original presentation. It was $116,000 a year. I remember that briefly because they said it was $34,000 a quarter that worked out. And that worked out to, as you can, figure that all out, that works out to, I'm giving you time to figure this out, that works out to, I think, $136,000 a year. It works out to $136,000 a year. That's what it was. So I looked at it this way. Well, if I got that bonus, I'd only need 6 machines a year to cover the rest. I was like, wow, this is great, man. I can do this. So the question is, how do I get to that level? Well, I need to replace the income that I'm doing. So if you're looking at, let's say you're 100,000, whatever your lifestyle is, it can be less than that. It can be more than that. It doesn't matter. You just figure out the number. So to replace the lifestyle income, the person needed to build up at least 2 leaders. You got to have at least 2 people who are going to do the business with or without you. I recommend that you find 4, because sometimes things change in life, things happen. Try and find at least 4. And you need to make, 6 machines of sales a year directly to keep this going. That's what I was. At 2-4, lifestyle was completely replaced, and everything else was contribution money from that point on. Okay. So 6A25 might be 2.5 for you. It doesn't matter. It's 5,000 guaranteed at 2.3, 10 at 2.4, 15 at 2.5, 20 at 2.6. You get the idea, right? Okay. That's not counting the bonuses. Right? Can't count the bonuses because it's like you got to count taxes, right? You got to count that. So now let's talk about some real numbers here. The reality is this: 1.5% of people who join this business make 6A. 1.5%. That's the number of people in the organization that makes it. So in order to get my goals to 2-3, I was going to have 1,200 to maybe 1,500 people total as active distributors in my organization. Okay. 12 to 1,500. Okay. That's great. So let's break that down. You're like, do I have to sponsor all those people? No. This is a leveraged income business. So since the average 6A distributor only sponsors between 8 to 12 people, these are real numbers, folks. I'm here to give it to you straight. That means you need to find 120 people total. And you got to find those 120 people and you got to get those to 4A. And that's what you need to get to 2, 3 and above. That's it. Now, here's the thing. Why do I say 4A? Why do I focus on that number? Because I did all the statistics out. And what I found is that only 1.5% of people go to 6A, but 85% of the people that go to 4A get to 6A. Wow, that's a really, really, really big number. It's a big number. So the reality is it takes you about 4A to figure out the business. So as a leader, as someone that's taking on sponsor, I have to ask myself, am I willing to help that person get to 4A? Am I willing to show them the business? Am I willing to help them in the demos? Am I willing to do whatever it takes to help them get to 4A? Because that's what my mentors did for me. And that's why I was able to get to 6A and above. And for the people in my organization that were in my direct response and that sort of stuff, that's what we did with them. And the people that grew their businesses to 6A and beyond that, that's what they did with their team. This is a replicatable system. So now I only need 120 of these 4A I can get to my goal. Well, that's great news, because between me and my organization, this is going to get, so the secret magic number is 4A. So if you're a 1A, a 2A, a 3A or whatever, you got to get your people to 4A. When you get to 4A, usually there's 1 or 2 people that are going to do the business, that are serious. There's a lot of people who say they're going to, but I mean, we're talking serious. Now you just get those people to go to 4A. Work with those people. Do whatever it takes. This is about, elevating people, elevating them, helping them get the tools, the skills, the abilities to get to where they need to go. That's what's going to make it happen for you and your business. Now, remember, the secret is 4A. When you are starting out, don't think about 6A. Think about getting to 4A, because at 4A, you start making good money, $1,100 plus bucks on sale. This is good money. Okay? You can do this. Now, here is the situation in the magic number. We're breaking this down. So in this case, the magic number was 102,000. Maybe for you, it's 50. Maybe it's 60. Maybe it's 250. I don't know. Just put the number down, whatever that is. So how many sales do I need to sell directly, right, to hit that number? Well, I'm going to need to get to 6A. So that means I'm going to have to sell directly 12. Okay, and how many leaders do I need to develop? Need to develop 4. I need to get 4 people to 4A. And you go, well, wait, that doesn't quite work out. Believe me, you get 4 people to 4A in your organization, you'll go 6A. No problem whatsoever. And the income's nice, especially if you get someone up at 4, 5, or 6A, you get up in those zone and the person goes 4A. That's a lot of cake for you as they're growing a business, because you're getting the lion's share as you train them. And that's why you get that money, because you're supposed to be helping them. Next, how many people do I need to get in front of the presentation? Directly and indirectly. So what that means is you don't have to be doing all the presentations. Eventually, you might start out, you might be taking people to presentations or doing them online. I love online now. We didn't have online presentations before. Now you can do this way faster than I did, way easier than I did. You can do what I did in a year in like 3 months. I'm serious, right? If you start looking at your business from efficiency components, like how many people can get them can you call them up, book a time, show them the demo, and make a decision. Video, audio, all that stuff. Okay, so here's how it worked out. Year one. This is real numbers, real stuff here. 2 presentations a week. That's what I went to. I took people to the presentation. I always had at least, not once a guest, that's a 1 guest. I always had 1 guest. Sometimes I had 5, right? I do remember a time where I went and none of my guests showed up, and it It was embarrassing for me. I was really disappointed in myself. And it was just a fluke. And that happens sometimes. But you know what I did? I went into that thing and I sat down and I went to that meeting, and then I stayed late and I talked to my mentors at the time, and they really gave me some sage. In fact, I stayed there really, really late at their house. It was over at Sam Adams' place. And even though I didn't have a guest, I learned something that night, and it was a breakthrough. It was a breakthrough. It took me 5 months to do my own demo. So I started doing my own demos at 5 months, but I would help out at the presentations. At the presentations, I would help set up. I would bring equipment. I would bring things like tomatoes and all that sort of stuff for the demos. And then I started doing little pieces. First, I started just doing a quick 60-second testimonial. Actually, they were way too long. I'd do longer testimonials. For those of you guys here that were there, I kind of rambled a bit. I got tighter and better at giving my presentation or my story. Phenomenal. And I learned that demo, and I watched that demo so many times I could do it in my sleep. I went to my first demo 5 months later. I was terrified. I had gone to Toronto, Ontario, to do that demonstration. And, I've done a lot of presentations. I was nervous and things didn't work out. It did things, it was challenging. But then I helped that person, and we went off in the next few months, me and that person, and we knocked out about, it was 26 sales in the next 6 to 8 weeks. It was in Toronto. I think it was 6 weeks, because I stayed at his house and we just did demo. And we had a couple people that were really feeding us a lot of people, and we just went crazy on it. So momentum is a powerful thing. That got him excited. He eventually went 6A. And then I kept going to a next place. Remember, I didn't have a place. I didn't have a home at the time. So I stayed at his place. Then I went out to the East Coast where my folks were, and I cranked it out there. And then I came back to Toronto, and I went there and I cranked it out there. And then I came back to Vancouver and got a place to live. And guess what? In just 11 months, my income was $114,000. I went from 0A to 6A in 11 months. I did 128 presentations in total. That was going to presentations, taking people to a presentation, and that was doing presentations myself. I went to 6 events, Super Saturdays, Enagic conventions, the whole 9 yards. I went to 6 events, 128 presentations, $114,000. The total people I presented to, I estimated around 600. I personally made 12 sales directly that year, but 3 of those people ended up going 6As. The 6A 2-2s and above in my organization today came from people I had never met before, but I did help them in critical stages of their business. One of those people was a friend of my direct person, who got involved in the business right away. He got involved literally, I think it was, I was almost a 6A. I think I was at 75, 80 machines. So he didn't really contribute that much to my overall goal. But man, oh man, did he contribute to it after. And he came in at a 5A position. So I made a lot of money directly. And I really worked hard for 8 weeks with that person, because here's the thing. Here's a big secret. I'm going to take a drink for this one. The best distributors are the easiest to work with. Mm-hmm. You see, the best distributors here, but they're calling you. They're calling you. In fact, I remember when this person, it was Seahaw Top. For those of you who don't know Seahaw is amazing. So Seahaw was referred to me by a friend, and he got started in the business, and he was calling day and night. And my mentor had told me that night that I went to the demo and didn't have anybody, and talked to my mentor, who was very successful. He said, listen, the people who are calling you, I said, how do you know when you have a winner? Because I had, 3 or 4 people had dropped off that night, and I was kind of frustrated. And he said, how many people do you know? How do you know you got a winner? How do you know you got someone to build a business? He goes, when they're calling you, when they're asking you to come do a demo, when they're asking you, can they do this, or can they, when you find one of those people, that's the people that you want to run with it. You want to really get them going, because they're going to do it with it or without you. And the interesting was, I remember Seahawk was calling me up and all this stuff, and he had had a very high level of success in his previous business, and he had went through some challenges and was needed to make this happen. And one of these people, the ones that are calling you all the time, because that's what Seahawk was doing. He was calling me all the time. And so my mentor flew out from Chicago. At the time he wasn't even there. He flew to Chicago, came with me down to Bellingham to meet this guy. They connected, had a great connection, and he laid out exactly what Seahawk did, just like I'm doing with you now. Because he had bigger goals than this. He said, "This is what I need to make. This is what I need to do, whatever." And my mentor helped him lay this out, and they came up with a plan. And Seahawk asked me if I would go up and down the I-5 with him for 8 weeks to get his business up and running and do the demonstrations. And that's what we did. And he's relentless. He's one of my very, very dear friends and one of the best distributors in all of Enagic. So I just focus on that 8 weeks. And that's what your winners will do. You don't always know when you get a winners, but your winners are going to do this no matter what. Your winners aren't complaining. Your winners are bringing extra stuff. Your winners. So be a winner yourself and you'll attract winners. Now, guess what? That was my lowest year in the business. My first year was my lowest year in the business. I traveled the world. I grew the business further. I made more friends than I could possibly even see in the rest of my life. I've got friends all over the world. I was in Singapore. People are inviting me out for coffee over their houses. They bought me lunch when I was over there. People are inviting me to Thailand. People are asking me to come to their place in Bali. People are asking me to stay in their houses all over. And generally people I want to spend time with. People, and this is an amazing company, an amazing business. The most direct sales of people I've personally sold to directly in any given year was 30. That's it. 30 direct sales. That's my number one year. So if you're looking at this and you go, that's it? Yep, that's it. And now my residual income exceeds what my first year goal was, whether I work or not. It's an incredible feeling to know that you don't have to work if you don't want to. I love working. I keep working because I love it. It's not work. It's fun. It's creation. It's being human. It's contributing to the world. It's helping alleviate suffering. It's helping people build a business. I love doing these calls. I love having these questions. And you know what? You will too. There's a lot of people working right now and you're frustrated, you're tired, you're feeling down, you're feeling beat up, you're feeling that you can't do this anymore, you're feeling that you lost your dreams. And I understand that. I know how you feel. And the thing is, you're going, oh man, I just can't wait to retire. But when you get doing this business and you start bringing in this kind of income and seeing the changes and seeing the lives change and the health changes and the financial changes and meet the friends and the families and travel around the world, guess what? You'll keep working too, but it won't feel like work. Now, the key to this whole thing to make this work comes down to a couple things. And I talked on this in another slide, and I'm going to hit it again today. The power is in repetition. The power is in study, and the power is in discipline. You got to do the right actions over and over and over and over. If you're trying to reinvent the wheel, you're not going to make it. When you get to 682-3, figure out a new way. Go ahead. But when you start out, do what's working, do what's over and over, and that just comes down to presentations and exposures. Next, study. Study your field daily. Study it weekly and study it year after year. Leaders are readers. Listen, I read a ton of books. I'm still learning about sales. I'm still learning about direct marketing. I'm still learning about online marketing. I'm still learning about personal psychology, goal setting. You name it, I'm studying. I'm studying that so I can relate to people. I'm studying so I can offer value. I'm studying to improve my skills. And it's fun. I study every single day and I love it. I love the fact that I get to learn. You know, I remember years ago when I was working in a warehouse every summer during university, and it was a good paying job, and that's why I did it. But I remember by the end of the summer, I was putting boxes on a cart and driving it up to the front, picking packages in a warehouse. And I remember by the end of the summer, I knew I needed another job. Prior to that, I remember working manual labor, and I remember one day just beating on this fence out in the middle of the blazing hot sun. And I've been doing this every day. And I was training to get ready for my competitions. And I was working 40 hours a week, and I'm working a night job at the bar as a doorman, having to fight 5 times a week. And then I was training 4 hours a day. I was hardly sleeping. And I remember being out in the field one day, banging on this old oak fence that I had to tear down, and the lump in my throat and the tears in my eyes. And I was going, man, I gotta change this. I gotta be a better way to do this. There's gotta be a better way. And I didn't know a better way. And I know that pain. But through repetition, through study, and through discipline, I was able to come out of that. And discipline means to be willing to give up the frivolous things, your friends, and doing 95%, because 95% of the population die broke. So if you look at 100 people that you know, 97 of them are going to die broke. Discipline equals freedom. Now, here's the thing. Discipline comes from having a vision for your life. People ask me, how did you stay on a diet for so long? How did you do all those demos? How did you travel around the world and all that sort of stuff? What did you, well, how did you have the discipline to do that? Well, discipline just came from the vision. The vision was so clear. My goals were so clear, and your goals need to be so clear that it doesn't feel like discipline. It's just the thing that you got to do to get what you want. You see it, you want it, you pay the price. You see it, you want it, you pay the price. And generally, you got to do 2 things. Number 1, you got to build up the pleasure of having that or doing that or being that. And you got to also build up the pain for not doing that. So what's your number? Look at your income replacement goal. Write down that number. In this case, it was $102,000. I exceeded that. You can too. Anybody on this call tonight can do this. There's not one single person that can. How many machines do I need to sell directly? Well, if I'm starting out at 0, I knew that I needed to sell at least 12, because they told me that's 8 to 12 is the average person, what they sold directly to make 6A. I'm like, okay, I can do that. And I just focused on, I'm going to keep going until I get my 12. Okay. How many leaders do I need to develop? I estimated I needed 4, right? You need 4 people. I think my first year, I ended up getting 3. Who took off in the business. And then one of those people brought me Siha, and then one that brought me Antonina, who brought me Creel. So it kind of goes down the road. So then how many people do I need to get in front of to the presentation? That's a double duh. How many people do I need to get in front of? Well, Romy Verdera, if you listen to him, Romy does a great webinar on this, by the way. He went 6A in literally 90 days, and he said he did 100 presentations. And in those 100 presentations, he said he felt about 500 people saw the presentation, and that's what helped to make 100 machine sales. So I just did, it's the same thing. And you know what? It worked out almost identically to me. So how many people do I need to get in front of to do the presentation, right? I think if you do 100 presentations, if you plan on doing 100 presentations, you'll get to 6A. That's realistically. I don't know anybody that's gone down 100 presentations hasn't gone 6A. And not just one-on-ones, 100. One-on-ones are easier to convert. You'll convert more people, but the bigger groups, that's what happens as you grow your business, and then directly or indirectly. You don't have to do it also by yourself. You do it with a team. So here's the thing. Some people will do that. Some people go out there, and I know people that are making literally, they're signing up 50, 60, 100 people a year, all on direct sales. They're just going for sales. You can do that too if that's your style. But there's 3 critical questions that you need to ask yourself, and this is going to make your magic number come true. And number 1 is, what's your reason why? What's your reason why? If you don't know your why, none of this makes any sense. Are you doing it for your wife? Doing it for your husband? Are you doing it for your folks? You want to help the folks? You want to help the family, your kids? Do you want to just know what it feels like to be successful? Do you want to just live that lifestyle no matter what? You want that dream home? You want that dream car? You want that dream trip? Whatever it is. What's your reason why? Right? What are you willing to do? Are you willing to go out and do 100 presentations or expose people, 100 people to this business opportunity. Are you willing to do that? Say yes or no. Write it down. And then finally, what are you willing to give up? Are you willing to give up some TV? Are you willing to give up a few events that you would have went to that were kind of just commonality? Are you willing to give up a few weekends to go out to some Enagic events and training events? Are you willing to give up some time and of, you know, surfing on Facebook so that you can learn maybe how to sell better if that's a struggle for you? What are the skills that you need to get better? If you're having trouble closing, take a sales course. If you're having trouble presenting, start going to Toastmasters, right? Whatever it takes. Like, whatever the obstacle is, that's where your greatest opportunity is. As soon as you crush that, you get to the next one. And there's always obstacles at every level. Okay? Always obstacles. But most importantly, I want to share this. And that is that you can do this. If you're here, we know that you want to do this. You have a desire to do this. So why not do this? Doesn't it make sense to do this? Of course it makes sense to do this. You deserve it. You see, most people get their dreams taken away from them in life. Most people are conditioned to think that they can't have that goal, that they can't make that number, that they can't have that lifestyle, but you can. You can do this. This is the way. This is an easy way. If you really wanted to do this, you could go out and start pounding on doors next week, hanging door hangers. You could start making phone calls. You could do whatever you wanted. There is no limits to what you can do if you really want this. Do you want it? What's your why? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to give up? And if you follow this, you can do this. But you got to know your numbers. Know your numbers. Your numbers might be a little different than mine. That's okay. So take the number 100, 200, 300, whatever amount of money that you need to make and break it down into something that you can believe and then do this thing because you can do this. Okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to just end this for a second and then we're going to go to questions. So 1 second.